Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a first look at the brand new Calm Day Baxcalibur in the Master Premier Cup. Now these battles were submitted to the channel as they are every Calm Day by the one and only Smudgy B, so many thanks for the battle submission. For its Calm Day, Baxcalibur gets access to Glaive Rush, a dragon-type charge stack that deals 90 damage for 40 energy, but lowers your defense every time you use it. Now, Baxcalibur doesn't really have any play in Mega Masters, which is out right now, so I set up some practice battles for Smudgy against myself and other members of my Discord, so we can see what Baxcalibur can do. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1, Smudgy picks up a dominant lead win as he leads Metagross into Florges. Opponent pivots out of the matchup, save switching into Snorlax. Metagross fires off Meteor Mash, connecting for very solid damage, and in comes Gyarados. Now this Snorlax does have the best buddy badge, but unfortunately they do not have it equipped. And that's a very big problem, as that means they're not getting the Lick Breakpoint. Gyarados gets the overfarm, trying to reach for the Twister, not quite able to get there, before Snorlax fires off Body Slam number 2. But the Gyarados is just so far ahead in this matchup that Gyarados is still in a very good spot. Aqua Tail connects onto the Snorlax. Snorlax cannot make it to Body Slam number 2, as Gyarados will secure the knockout with Aqua Tail. Now this honestly puts the opponent in a pretty awkward spot. Fairy Wind does very little damage in the Master League, so Florges is going to have a very tough time farming down. And in the meantime, Gyarados is going to reach Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail. If this damage does add up, Florges is suddenly very low. Florges gonna fire off a Chilling Water, unable to take one final Aqua Tail, and now Metagross will hit the field once again. There's a pivot in the back, it's Skeleturge, and for the very first time, in comes the new Calm Day Baxcalibur. Baxcalibur has to respect a potential Shadow Ball, but Skeleturge is instead just gonna go for the Torch Song. Skeleturge is going to try and boost its way through the Baxcalibur, so Baxcalibur is going to lower its attack back to normal with Icy Wind. Now, Icy Wind is more expensive than Glaive Rush. Glaive Rush is a very cheap charge stack, only 10 turns to get there for the Baxcalibur. Alright, here we go, moment of truth. Let's see this charge stack animation. Glaive Rush, oh, I love that animation, that is great. There's a simultaneous switch, Metagross into the Florges. Florges did store up a bunch of energy from earlier, but unfortunately, Chilling Water does basically nothing to the Metagross. Metagross can look to absorb this energy, overfarm quite significantly, and even though the Skeleturge does have a loaded Torch Song, Skeleturge is going to have to fire off that energy, or it's low enough that it could probably even get knocked out here by a Meteor Mash. Back in comes Skeleturge. They're launching that Torch Song. Torch Song will be securing the knockout, but the Baxcalibur is really close to the move. In comes Baxcalibur, Glaive Rush is reached, and this game is over. Glaive Rush knocks out the Skeleturge, and that's going to be a Game 1 win. We move to game number 2, and we've got a battle of steel types, Metagross into Gholdengo. Metagross now having access to Shadow Claw does make this matchup substantially better than it has been in the past. Gholdengo already at the Shadow Ball, Metagross will be forced to put up the shield, but with the Shadow Claw pressure, even a resisted Meteor Mash would inflict some pretty significant damage. Metagross fires off the Meteor Mash, shield comes up from Gholdengo, there's a pivot out, and in comes Gyarados. Gholdengo banks energy, in comes Snorlax. Baiting out Snorlax is quite helpful, but the Gholdengo energy could be a little bit problematic for the Baxcalibur endgame. Gyarados launches Aqua Tail. The fact that Gyarados is up this much energy, this Snorlax is really not going to appreciate this matchup. Snorlax goes for the Body Slam, Gyarados doesn't really mind, and Gyarados already has well over 2 more Aqua Tails. Aqua Tail is going to land. It looks like 2 more Aqua Tails will be needed even after that first one. Gyarados going to fire off yet another Aqua Tail. Snorlax able to hang on, but not by much. Snorlax, oh, they overfarmed too much. They played it with CMP tie that they do not win, and that's going to cost them their Snorlax energy. Body Slam still would not have knocked out. In comes Hydreigon. Oh, the catch from the opponent. They're able to catch the Twister back onto Gholdengo. It looks like Smudgy did end up lagging a little bit there, which is a little bit tragic. In comes Metagross. Shadow Ball reached by Gholdengo, and Smudgy's going to be no shielding. He sees the vision, and the win condition is simple. Massive farm down with Baxcalibur. Baxcalibur hits the field, trying to Dragon Breath down Gholdengo, not quite able to get there. Gholdengo will make a potential Power Gem here. That's the Power Gem, and there's the pivot. In comes Hydreigon. If Hydreigon makes it to a Flash Cannon, this game is over. Baxcalibur doubles up on Glaive Rush, gets the shield, loses charge attack priority. Is this the Flash Cannon? This Baxcalibur is debuffed. No, it's not. It's just a Brutal Swing. But at -2 defense, I believe an Astonish will actually take the knockout here. Glaive Rush takes the KO. In comes Gholdengo, but he transfers the Astonish. What a play. Baxcalibur farms down, and that's going to be a win. We move to game number 3, leading Metagross into Shadow Dragonite. Opponent safe switches into the mirror. They're going to be answered with the Gyarados. Now, up this much energy, Metagross can make life uncomfortable for Gyarados. Meteor Mash will be resisted, but the Shadow Claws do add up, and Meteor Mash is such an incredibly efficient attack that even when it's resisted, it still leaves quite a mark. Gyarados will be able to survive a second Meteor Mash, but it's not going to be by much. Gyarados is going to be no shielding. Gyarados makes it to the Aqua Tail. Will this be enough to secure the knockout? This is going to be as close as it can get. Aqua Tail connects. Oh, he pivots out and he snipes down with the Metagross. Metagross now answered with the Rhyperior. Rhyperior did get buffed this season. Rhyperior got access to Drill Run. This does mean that every 12 turns, it has the ability to inflict monster damage onto Steel types. Metagross puts up the shield. It is the Drill Run from the Rhyperior, and Metagross is going to fire off the Meteor Mash. I believe Metagross will be able to outpace the Rhyperior here. I think it's 665 pacing. Metagross will get the outpace, but gets the catch instead. All the style points from Smudgy. You absolutely love to see it. He didn't need to go for that catch, but he goes for it anyway. Absolutely savage gameplay. And back in comes the Metagross. Metagross unleashes Meteor Mash. That's going to be the end of Rhyperior. Back in comes the Shadow Dragonite. But unfortunately, this Shadow Dragonite cannot one-shot the Baxcalibur. The Baxcalibur is just simply going to outpace. Only 10 turns to the Glaive Rush. Glaive Rush picks up the one-hit knockout. And that's a good game. We move to game number 4, and we've got Mirror leads Metagross into Metagross. Now, this matchup is very bait dependent. If you're ever able to get a Meteor Mash shielded, you end up being pretty far ahead. Smudgy's just going to go straight for the Earthquake. Hoping the opponent tries to call the bait, but they don't. They will put up the Protect Shield. It does look like Smudgy's actually getting a Shadow Claw breakpoint in this matchup because he's best buddied. Look at this. There's a pretty significant health difference there. The opponent's only just going to settle for a Meteor Mash. Meteor Mash will not take the knockout here, and Smudgy will be able to win the lead. Winning the lead matchup hopefully should set him up for success, although if there's a Fairy type in the back, then things could get a little bit tricky. This team is very weak to Fairy in the back. It's going to be a Gyarados. Can't really afford to bring in Baxcalibur, so it's going to be Gyarados getting sent into the mirror. Gyarados going to look to farm up quite significantly. Opponent is going to look to strike first, and Smudgy decides against shielding. The opponent's on Crunch on Gyarados. Crunch does offer a significantly stronger matchup in a Metagross, but does mean you are worse in the mirror, because Twister is just so incredibly fast. Look at that, Smudgy switched in down energy. He's able to CMP tie here, Twister to the Crunch. And Twister, oh, it actually wasn't the CMP tie, I stand corrected, but he was still able to outpace. Crunch lands, there's going to be a switch, Baxcalibur into Goodra, and unfortunately for the Goodra, their only hope in this game is landing a Draco Meteor. They build up to it, Smudgy puts up the shield, will they full send? No, they will not, they go for the Thunder Punch, but Baxcalibur just gets to double up on Glaive Rush here, and there's just no way out for the opponent. Glaive Rush will be shielded, there's Glaive Rush number 2, and this is just too efficient of a charge attack. If it's super effective, it's picking up the one-hit knockout. Back in comes Gyarados just to get farmed down, and that's game over. Great lead in the next match, Metagross into Florges. Opponent safe switches into Shadow Rhyperior, and that's going to be answered with the Gyarados. Gyarados already at the Aqua Tail. This is double super effective damage. Aqua Tail is going to connect, but the Shadow Rhyperior is actually able to hang on. Rhyperior will probably be able to pick up the one-hit KO with Rock Wrecker, so Gyarados is forced to put up the shield. Florges hits the field. The opponent has managed to get a shield advantage, and that's not necessarily a great spot to be in when you have Baxcalibur as your final Pokemon. Baxcalibur has really thrived so far when it was in a position when it was able to get up energy or in even shield scenarios. But down a shield, I could definitely see where the limitations of Baxcalibur could potentially get exposed. Gyarados going to be no shielding. Moonblast comes out from the Florges. Moonblast actually does get the debuff. That's only a 10% chance of occurring. Gyarados firing off Aqua Tail. It looks like Florges will not be able to quite get the farm down here. Another Aqua Tail is reached. This Gyarados is relentless. Aqua Tail takes the KO in the back. It's going to be, a Mud Slap Shadow Excadrill. And I think sadly this game is over. Metagross launches Meteor Mash. I was expecting when I saw the Excadrill to see Mud Shot, but no, that is not Mud Shot. That is unfortunately going to be Mud Slap. Meteor Mash will be double shielded, and Exca will get the full farm down. If Smudgy wants a chance in this game, he may have to wait down his timer and try and go for a catch. In comes Baxcalibur, instant Rock Slide comes out from that Shadow Exca. Honestly, does Baxcalibur get one shot here? I'm not 100% sure. Baxcalibur farms up, he goes for the catch, he does not get it, and unfortunately I think that's gonna seal it, because I think Baxcalibur could survive one Rock Slide, but it's definitely not surviving the back-to-back. That's a charge attack priority tie that Baxcalibur does not win. Back-to-back drill runs take the knockout, and unfortunately that game will end in defeat. We move to the next match. Metagross on the lead into a low kick Annihilate. Annihilate does have incredibly fast pacing, but Rage Fist not really going to be a problem here for the Metagross. Annihilate went for the close combat. That deals substantially more damage, and even with the -2 defense, Annihilate is very bulky in the Master League, so the Shadow Claws still don't really do a lot. Shield advantage has been secured. In comes Gyarados as Annihilate will undertap the Rage Fist, and that really feels like a pretty colossal waste for the opponent. They now send in a Shadow Garchomp, but this Garchomp is about to get absolutely erased by Twister. Twister is just so incredibly efficient. It's a terrific move. Garchomp fires off energy right before the second Twister is available. Garchomp, they're one off the back-to-back Twisters, so Smudgy is going to fire off one Dragon Breath and then go for a Twister of his own. Twister lands. Oh no, but the Gyarados does not take the knockout. Garchomp's able to survive, and he's just going to fully sacrifice the Gyarados, and now it's all up to Baxcalibur. Baxcalibur able to get a small energy advantage. In comes the Annihilate, but Annihilate's going to get knocked out here. The Glaive Rush is reached. Annihilate is going to get crushed by Baxcalibur, and the final Pokemon is revealed to be Florges. Now, Baxcalibur really can't do much here, but if my memory serves me, there's energy stored on the Metagross. Icy Wind lands. In comes the Metagross. There's the Meteor Mash, and this game is over. Unfortunately, Baxcalibur can't really do much into the Fairy types, but hey, that's why it's paired with a Metagross. Metagross takes care of the Fairy types with ease and secures the win. Oh, we've got some spice from the opponent in the next match, as Metagross ends up leading into Shadow Scizor. Shadow Scizor in the Master League. Man, that is an incredibly spicy pick. Metagross just going to opt for the Meteor Mash, and now I see why. That damage is criminal. Huge damage onto that Shadow Scizor. Scizor launches the Night Slash. Can Metagross get the farm down here? No, it cannot. Metagross just misses the farm down, and the opponent's actually going to be able to win the lead off of that. It looks like Meteor Mash would have set up the farm down, but Shadow Scizor with the 1 HP survive, and that means, unfortunately, that switch advantage has been lost. And the moment Annihilate comes out, unfortunately, it looks like switch advantage was very important in this game. Baxcalibur fires off Glaive Rush. Glaive Rush is going to be shielded, and that was a charge attack priority tie. Baxcalibur now trapped while debuffed, forced to put up the shield, and these low kicks are definitely adding up. There's the pivot out. In comes Gyarados. It's going to be Florges in the back, and unfortunately, once the Metagross fell, that Florges was going to be a very big problem. Aqua Tail lands. Florges going to play to a CMP tie that it does not win, but even with that CMP tie, this is still looking very bleak. Oh, actually stand corrected, that was not a CMP tie. I am recording this shoutcast at like 3 in the morning right now, my time. Obviously, the New Zealand Calm Day just finished for Smudgy, but when his Calm Day finishes, it's pretty early in the morning for me. So, unfortunately, I might be seeing things a little bit here, but either way, it looks like the writing may be on the wall for this one. There's a simul switch, Baxcalibur into Annihilate, but Annihilate did save quite a bit of energy. So unfortunately, I don't believe Baxcalibur is going to get the double up. Baxcalibur will fire off Glaive Rush. Glaive Rush will be pressuring away that final Protect Shield, but it's just simply not enough. There is just not the energy required on Baxcalibur. Rage Fist takes the knockout. Gyarados is going to get farmed down, and that game will end in defeat. Hopping into the final match, Metagross leading into Garchomp. It's a Mudshot Garchomp, Safe Switch Gyarados, answered with the Snorlax. And this matchup is very flippable for the Gyarados. Gyarados gonna fire off Aqua Tail. Opponent did stay in that Garchomp matchup for a little bit there. It seems like they weren't quite sure of what they wanted to do, and that little bit of extra energy on the Gyarados will be critical to flipping alignment here. Or even if switch advantage isn't necessarily flipped, then trying to set up a big farm down for Metagross. Snorlax fires off Body Slam, but that really does not do much. Another Body Slam thrown, another no shield from the Gyarados. This Snorlax rapidly approaching a range where even Twister would secure the KO. Twister does do slightly more damage. Twister will be shielded up by the Snorlax. Gyarados able to make the Aqua Tail. Now this will not take the knockout here, but it will put Snorlax potentially into Shadow Claw farm down range for the Metagross. Now that's basically the best case scenario in the mid game here, is setting up a nasty farm down for the Metagross, and then Metagross should be able to make a Meteor Mash into that Garchomp. Back in comes the Garchomp, Meteor Mash locked and loaded. Opponent's already down one shield, they can't afford to give up another. In comes Baxcalibur, and Garchomp will immediately threaten big super effective damage with Twister. Shield comes up, in the back is Mamoswine, and this is a matchup where the Mamoswine could be in a little bit of trouble. because Baxcalibur has so much stored energy. Baxcalibur launches Glaive Rush, Mamoswine gets rocked, and Mamoswine will fire off energy. Baxcalibur puts up the shield, Mamoswine on Avalanche. Baxcalibur looking for the farm down, no! Damage registration error. They hang on, Avalanche takes the knockout, and I think unfortunately that is going to be a game loss. The Baxcalibur almost got the farm down, but the Dragon Breath did not register. And then without any shields to hide behind, Garchomp Earth powers the Metagross, and that final game will end as a loss. And now some final thoughts on Glaive Rush Baxcalibur and its meta viability. First off, to start with, I'm going to state the obvious. Great League and Ultra League, it's not really going to matter. The only leagues we're really going to be discussing here are going to be the Master League and Master Premier. To start with, unfortunately, in Mega Masters, even with the new move, it just really doesn't have the stats to compete. The Kyrums exist there, and Kyurem Black and Kyurem White, they're Dragon Ice types, which is a bit of a liability defensively, but at the bare minimum, they can hit back against Steel types for super effective if you're Kyurem White, or neutral if you're Kyurem Black. And that is an avenue where, unfortunately, even with the new move Glaive Rush, where Baxcalibur still struggles. Baxcalibur, it's very good when Dragon or Ice can hit a Pokemon for neutral or super effective. But in those type negative matchups, it really lags behind because it doesn't have the coverage compared to the Kyrums. So, as far as Open Masters and Mega Masters, I don't think Glaive Rush Baxcalibur is going to be seeing a lot of play just because the Kyrums already do what it would want to do a little bit better. Now, as far as Master Premier goes, I do see a little bit of potential there. I think being able to spam out a charge stack as efficient as this every 10 turns means that if you end up in situations where Dragon isn't resisted, then Baxcalibur is going to feel quite threatening. However, it's still going to suffer from the sins that it does in the Open Master League, and that is its lack of coverage. Baxcalibur's inability to hit Steel types or even neutral damage, the fact that it's forced into throwing Icy Wind or Avalanche if it goes up against the Fairy type, really means that I think it will end up feeling a little bit too alignment dependent. So, in conclusion, should you play the Baxcalibur Comday? My answer, absolutely. It's triple dust, it's a really good shiny, and it's an incredible move. This move doesn't really move the needle for Baxcalibur right now, but it's an important tool in its arsenal. We know every 3 months, Pokemon get big move updates. Now, this, I would classify Baxcalibur now as being one move away. Dragon Breath plus Glaive Rush is an incredible starting point. If it's ever able to get a coverage move for that extra charge move slot, so that way you would have a better time into the Steels and into the Fairies, then suddenly I can see Baxcalibur actually being pretty interesting. So I absolutely recommend playing the Comday. I would try and get a good one for the Master League, and try and get all the Stardust you can. I know I'm always running short of Stardust, so I'm definitely going to be playing this Comday quite a bit. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching today's video, please do help support the channel by leaving a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel if you have not. And an extra special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide to the channel is so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.